there are so many jobs abroad that people just totally discount in college because they either don't think they're qualified, which they can be, or they just don't even think about, they think they have to like go to Sioux Falls. Not that there's anything wrong with Sioux Falls, but like, you don't have to.
Welcome to the Next Level Journalist, where you will hear from some of the best journalists in the business or who have been there, done that, and willing to share with you what they've learned so you can get better, faster.
My guest today is the first for this platform, and that's saying something because we're almost at 50 episodes. So for the first time on this platform, I have an international journalist coming all the way from Doha, Qatar. Leah Harding, thank you so much for making time for this today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Did I pronounce that right?
Leah Harding, Doha, Qatar, all
Yeah, Doha, Qatar.
Yeah, you did. You nailed it.
That's the Kentucky coming out in me, just as we talked about before.
It's not Qatar. A lot of people say Qatar. That's wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to clarify that out of the gate, but so cool that you're joining us. So you told me it's about 6 o'clock local time there. We're in the morning time still here. So a 7-hour difference if I'm correct, right? If my math's correct. Okay, that's awesome. So again, thank you so much for making time for this. And I know you have other things going on, so let's jump into this and give us an idea of your TV career. What got you interested in doing what you're doing, how you got to where you are today. I think that is one of the most fascinating things, that how you went from starting here in the States and getting to where you are, and what got you interested in all that. So, and again, you take it from there, whatever rabbit hole you want to dive into, but just your TV journey.
Yeah, well, if you hear the squeaking, my dog is trying to speak for us, so maybe she'll stop that in a second. But so I grew up in Jordan and in Ethiopia, so I have a very international background. My dad was born in Ethiopia, and so I was really privileged to grow up abroad. I went to 30 countries by the time I was, I think, 15. And so I traveled so much as a kid and thought that was very normal, and actually hit a major wall when I moved to the States post 9/11 for the first time in 2001. And so that was post the terrorist attacks, and I found myself, even as a kid, I was quite young, I found myself explaining that I thought I was Arab. I really connected with Jordanians, and having gone to an all Arabic speaking school, I was fluent in Arabic by the age of 7. I just thought that was who I was. And then I felt very un-American in the States. And so looking back, hindsight being 2020, I can see myself telling stories of what my life was like somewhere else and relaying that as a kid, i.e. like child journalism, right? And so I knew from a very young age that I wanted to be a journalist. And when I was 11, actually, it's when I set a goal for myself. I have a journal entry, wrote it right down, saying I want to work for Al Jazeera. At the time, Arabic was the only channel under this network. And went to all the different TV courses that I could in high school. And then at the University of Florida, I just tried everything I could to get on air at our local station, and landed an internship with Al Jazeera through networking. I mean, that's a whole story in and of itself. And then worked very hard summer 2014, my senior summer, and was offered a temporary contract, a freelance contract. And I knew so clearly what I wanted that I actually said no to that. And they countered offered with a staff contract. And I've been here 6 years. That's the very short version.
Yeah, understandably. So people understood what you just said. This is your first, it's not like you started in West Texas, or West Kentucky like I did. You went international from the get-go.
I did. There is a little bit of a caveat there, in that at the University of Florida, I was working with a PBS affiliate that is linked to the university. So I did have, I think it's market 160, maybe not even, experience. And so I was able to get a lot of my just initial flaws out of the way, figuring out what my on-air monsters were, if you will. And but yeah, I mean, it's a really crazy story because I also didn't apply for this job. I think that's something that I really want to drill home, is that connections and networking is huge. It's huge. So is your reel. I just posted my reel on YouTube, and by the time I graduated, I had 11 offers on the table, and I didn't apply anywhere. And so having a strong reel out of college, just posting it, I made the title the year later, so people thought it was relevant for at least a year. And I set up a website, and honestly, that was a huge point in my career where people would take me a little bit more seriously, even though I was really young, because I had a website, because I had a reel. And that did lead to me landing the job at Al Jazeera. They wanted to see my reel, even though my first gig here was as a producer.
I love the networking thing, and I'm with you. I think networking and relationships, I don't think I know. It's a big reason why I've been quote unquote successful in my own terms in doing what I'm doing and getting to be, to where I am today and doing, what fulfills me. So, and I also love the fact that you said you were super clear. Clarity is king. I mean, when you know what you want and you go at like it, the path becomes a little easier. I don't know if that's the right word, but if you have no idea what you're going after, it's going to be a lot of, it's going to be a curvy road along the way, but you knew about, what you wanted. Now, obviously, you have a unique background, so that, I'm sure, played into it a little bit, having that a broad experience. And like you said, this was different for you to be in the States. So 2 questions. I guess the first would be that networking element. If you could dive into that a little deeper, you said it's a whole story in and of itself. What was it about that experience? Because I'm with you. I feel like that's incredibly important to get wherever you want to be. So talk about that that experience of that networking and getting, that first opportunity, or the technically second opportunity maybe.
Yeah, well, to mirror what you said earlier, like having a clear vision is key. And when I started college, I made a promise to myself. I literally remember sitting in my dorm saying like, okay, I feel so out of control. I know what I want, but I am a 100% nobody, and I can't even get a volunteer position in the studio to sweep the floor. So what do I do? And I remember saying, okay, well, so many cool people come to this university to speak. My goal is to introduce myself to every single person that I go and listen to. And I will not leave until I meet them in some capacity. And so that really helped build my networking career. And so, reporters would come from all over, or non-reporters, or reporters from stations that I didn't necessarily want to work for, or I'd actually never want to work for. And I would stand in line and I would meet them. I made business cards, again, to make myself look a little bit more professional than I felt like I actually was. You can do that for really cheap. Just, put your email and your name on a business card and people will take you just a little bit more seriously. And it was through some connections from meeting people at the university that were coming as guest speakers and following each other on Twitter that led to my first internship. And so being the squeaky wheel, with some caveats, obviously, there's a difference between being adamant and being annoying, but and that's a fine line that I think is different for everyone, but following up on initial meetings is huge. And also taking yourself seriously. Like when you meet someone, shake their hand or give them a fist bump in this COVID age, and follow up on Twitter. Take a picture with them and then tag them on Twitter so you could reference it later and say, hey, I met you a year ago and I know you work for this company. Do you have any openings for an internship? Those types of things go a really long way. And now being on the flip side of that, when I have students write me, if they have been on my news feed on and off throughout the year, I'm more likely to actually respond to them.
That is so awesome. Have you ever heard of the book, The Third Door?
I haven't, but it sounds great.
The way, just to summarize it, it's about there's a third way in. You've got the front entrance, the backstage pass, but there's another way in. And a story that he tells, I'm going to butcher his name, but it's Alex Banyana, something like that. But basically, he did what you did, and he just documented his experience about how he met Tim Ferriss, who wrote the 4 Hour Work Week, and just different celebrities, but just made it a point to meet them. So that was
Yeah.
so cool to hear you say that. I immediately thought about that book.
Like I
I
took
think
it
you would
so
enjoy that.
seriously. I met Michelle Obama. Okay, I was like, I've got to meet her. I don't think she's gonna help me in my career, but I've got to stick to my goal. Like in taking it really seriously, and it really helps. It really does.
Well, I'm glad you said that because I was going to ask you maybe who you met along the way that helped you. Maybe Michelle Obama did not help you get that, the next opportunity. But anyone that you can share that said, you know what, I met so and so, and this led to that. I mean, did you reap some of those benefits of making it a point to connect with people?
Yeah. I'll name drop him here because he's been a huge ally for me. Is Rick Leventhal at Fox News. He was someone who I tweeted at him when I was in New York for another internship. And he was like, hey, I remember you. Why don't you come and shadow me for the day? And then in that experience, I met more people and then could give out my business card and Twitter handle to more people. And I feel really old school saying business card, but I feel like there's something still, even as a millennial, to like give someone something that even if it's just junk in their purse, like at least it's there. And so he's been really, really helpful. Sarah Seidner, she's an alumni of the University of Florida, and alumni networks are really important. Like just lay your heart and soul out on the line, tell an alumni what you want, and ask them how they can help you. That can go a really long way too.
Yeah, and I know that the right people will want to help you. Those who just kind of, carry things along, drag things along that don't respond quick. It's probably not who you want to surround yourself with anyway. So I'm glad you said that. That's so true. How was your experience in Qatar? Qatar. I keep on saying Qatar. I've got a guitar in my corner, but you're in Qatar.
Right? It's closer than Qatar, which, like I said, is incorrect. So, yeah, I mean, I think because I grew up in an Arab country, there aren't a lot of shocking elements to life here.
Right.
But something that I think a lot of students don't think about is that international jobs are available. And I'll just be honest, they pay a lot better than national jobs. And you also get the privilege to travel a lot easier. So I have 4-day work week. So I work 4 days and then I'm off for 4 days. On my 4 days on, they're 11.5-hour shifts. So it's a lot. But if I take 1 day off, I have a 5-day weekend. And India, for example, is 3 hours away. Ethiopia is 4 hours south, same time zone. So living abroad really opens up your world to the rest of the world. America is very isolated in that way. And it's not this big, scary thing. It's actually how most of the world operates. Like America is the big, scary thing to the rest of the world. And there are so many jobs abroad that people just totally discount in college because they either don't think they're qualified, which they can be, or they just don't even think about. They think they have to like go to Sioux Falls. Not that there's anything wrong with Sioux Falls, but like you don't have to. There are other places that you can go and make more money as a journalist and have, like I say, better stories for your grandchildren down the line.
Yeah, you want to talk about opening your mind. Traveling is certainly a way to do just that. I mean, that is so cool. I envy what you are able to do. I don't know if you can hear, but I have 2 girls. One of them's been a little cranky right now, but
I don't hear
that's our goal to start traveling with them.
Yeah.
So for you to be able to do that and to get paid to do it as well, it's just so awesome. So what would you say to someone who's like, well, maybe I can do international, and what would you suggest their first step being? Like, okay, maybe check out this site or connect with this person. And obviously you said that connect with you. What would you recommend their first step being into to looking a little more into it?
Yeah, I would say read about what you're interested in. So like for me, it was international politics, especially Middle East and North Africa. So be somewhat familiar with what is going on. Just does that even interest you to cover that in more depth? If you really want to be like a Hollywood reporter, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to move to a place like Qatar. So
Right.
look at what you're interested in, and then where are the groups that are feeding you this information? Is it Channel News Asia? Do you really like what they're doing? Is it Euronews? So you want to live in France? Is it Al Jazeera? And you would be interested in being based in Kuala Lumpur or in Qatar. And so I think a lot of it is to ask yourself what it is that you're interested in and what outlets do you fancy, to quote a British term, and pursue that. And then at the bottom of most news websites is a little thing, a little link that says, jobs, or apply for this, or contact us. And maybe it goes, into the dark web and no one ever sees it, but it's an action that you can take. And then look at different journalists, follow them on Twitter. Do you like what they're doing? Is that something that you want to do? Write them, write me, and start to follow what it is that you want to do. Because, it's like a mirror, really. What you consume is what you can give out. And so mirror what you want, I would say.
100% agree. It's so simple advice, right? But very few actually heed that advice.
And it's right there. It's really, it's hidden in plain sight. Like, it's not that hard to find someone, let's say at Channel News Asia, that you think is an amazing reporter. Like, follow them on Twitter. It's not 1980 where there's no Twitter. Or 2004.
Yeah, look, I'm young enough, old enough, I never know how to put it, but to remember, it wasn't until my junior year I got one of those Nokia cell phones. So,
Nice.
yeah, I can appreciate what it was like before then. Now it's never been easier to connect with someone around the world, right? I mean,
And
here
the
you
world-
and I are right now connected. So
Exactly. And like the world, don't think of it as this big scary place. Like, you get on a flight and you're 8 time zones away in 15 hours. And there are people there and they're like you more than you think they are. And, we have this fear of the other, but it should, like, let that fuel you. Let that be like an adventure. And life is short. My cat's about to make an appearance. That's what's happening. But yeah, life's short. Adopt a pet. But no, yeah, it's just it's possible, even if you're in local news, to make that jump. A lot of people that I work with, when you ask where were you before, I've never even heard of a lot of the places where they used to work.
yeah, and I love how you reiterated that. Like, we, being America, are the scary, ones to the outsiders, and there shouldn't be this perception that it's scary to go outside of our own walls, and
Yeah.
step out of our comfort zone. Don't let it hold you back.
We get
basically,
way
is what I
more
mean.
holiday time over here, way more vacation time.
And like you said, better pay. That's something I did not know, but anyone who gets on TV knows real quick
Yeah,
how.
you don't have to make $20,000 a year as a first job. You don't have to work at the poverty line with, you can, nothing wrong with it, but you don't have to. And
Yeah.
if that's for at least the long term, there are other options. And that's something that I've actually really been working with my college to try to talk about. Like, I was never really told that international jobs were an option. Everyone's like, oh,
Right.
good luck getting into market 80. It's like, well, I don't
Right.
want any of those markets. I don't even want to be in America. And they're like, no, but we think you have to. And I'm like, I think I don't.
Right.
I think there's a way. And there's a way. Interning
Yeah.
is huge. Interning is so important.
That's gosh, that's so cool. Yeah, I mean, you're proof that there's a way, right? So,
Yeah.
I think like and you've already touched on it, like the big fear is even going outside of the United States for journalism. So obviously, it was not a fear for you. So talk
No, it
about
was
maybe
still
what.
a fear, though. Like, yes, I grew up abroad, but I'd never been to Qatar before. I knew
Okay.
one person in the country.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, it was scary. No, I was very scared. I wasn't like, oh, I've got this. I'm so cocky and arrogant. It was like, oh no, I need to like pretend that I'm chill. I'm not chill.
Yeah. Well, I guess I should rephrase that. Like, you had an idea, maybe. I mean, being to 4 different continents, 60 plus countries.
Yeah.
You have a little more experience than me, or just your average American pursuing something outside of
Sure.
here to live and to do journalism. So, okay. So with that said, maybe some of your challenges. The challenges that you do in your daily routine. and share a little bit about your daily routine, if it is that much different from someone who covers news here.
Yeah, I think my biggest challenge is staying motivated. Like, I have to, again, follow people that do motivate me and not get stuck in this day-to-day rut. Like, to continue dreaming, to continue setting new goals. Like, I know in college, your goal is to get a job, and then you get the job, and then you're like, whoa, I've done it. Now what? Like, now what's the plan? And like, I think it's really important for me to find ways to stay hungry. For me, that's competition. Um, in a healthy way, comparing myself to some colleagues and like, okay, they did that. Okay, I think I could do that too. Maybe like in this way, and making a game out of the day to day as a way to stay motivated and not just be in this like mud pit where you're like, this is never ending, and the next step is retirement when I'm like 60. Like, trying to stay hungry and motivated along the way. For my job here, the day to day, I mean, I would say the biggest difficulty is like the shift changes. We go from working overnights to mid shifts to early shifts. And, when you wake up at 8 p.m. and you have to go to work at 11 p.m., you have to really dig deep and figure out, why am I doing this? Like, do I actually love this? And really taking into account also mental health is huge. Staying on top of that. I have a psychiatrist that I rely on heavily because I know that that's something that I need, and to give me a different perspective. And I've needed help in that department. And there's no shame in saying that. And I think making sure that your mental health is in check, making sure that I stay physically active and not just, sleep all day when I'm doing overnights. And when I find that the life that I have outside of work, the healthier it is, the better employee and the better journalist I am, because I have the energy to stay hungry.
I love the transparency, because if you don't address something, then it's only gonna get worse, right? I mean, I love that you shared that transparency about the mental, your mental
anxiety
capacity.
And depression is very real. It's something I struggle with.
Very few people don't know somebody, I believe, that doesn't have some sort of mental, challenge. I know we have it within our own family, so it's like it's a real thing, and you don't acknowledge it. That's kind of the start of the problem. So, so much we could talk about, but I want to respect your time, Leah. But I am curious, especially since you seem like someone who has so much clarity. What do you think is next, or what are you striving for?
My goal now is just to be deployed as much as possible. I did a story this week locally in Doha, and just, of course, everything was kind of stalled during COVID. We were all benched, working from home. It's hard as a reporter when you're told to stay home. So finding that drive and that hunger again to be deployed, to go out, even if it's local, it felt really good to be with a camera crew again and do a stand-up, have some sound bites that I asked the question and wasn't just getting it from an agency. So hopefully you'll see me overseas more, live from fill in the blank, and who knows? I'm open. This was my 10-year plan. So I have had to try to be creative about, okay, now 6 years in to my 10-year plan, what is my 10-year plan now? So again, making time to dream, making time to stay hungry.
That's awesome. I have no doubt we'll see you live from fill in the blanks along the way, not just fill in the blanks. So, Leah, thank you so much again for making time for this and meeting you and hearing about your journey. I'm excited to see where it'll end up taking you in the end.
Yeah, thank you so much. And again, I'm an open book. If anyone watching this does want to write me, they can. My Instagram handle is via_Leah, and pretty good about replying. If I don't reply, write me again.
And for anyone who doesn't know, if you don't know already, check in the description below. I have all of her links and contacts as well, so you can easily connect with her. This is clearly the type of person you want to connect with, whether you want to do international or not. But obviously, if you want to do international, connect with Leah. Thanks, Leah.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for checking out this channel. If you found this content beneficial, I'd appreciate it if you hit that like button hit that subscribe button and share it with someone you think might find it beneficial as well, because this channel was simply started and created to serve you, to help others grow, to learn how other successful TV journalists do or did it. So take what serves you so you can get better faster and reach your next level.